gonna be a little something more. I've got a plan in mind, a special thing in store. The light bulb inside my head says, get out and play, 'cause you never feel this way. It's my lucky day, it's my lucky day. It's my lucky day, my lucky day. Don't need a pot of gold, a rabbit's foot or to be told. It's my lucky day, it's my lucky day.
Hello, happy Tuesday, my friends. I am so glad to be here with you. Glad we're here together. And I'm so glad to have a really good friend of mine here today to chat. So if you don't know Jen, you need to know her because she is somebody worth knowing. So this is Jennifer Ibbotson Rodriguez, and she is an NGH board certified consulting hypnotist and certified instructor on a mission to empower exhausted and unhappy women to emerge as their most authentic and super selves, capable of enjoying more success with less stress. As a virtual hypnotic coach, she assists clients from coast to coast in 2 countries. Her clients choose to transform perceived weaknesses into actualized strengths while making a habit of living the lives they love. As an NGH certified hypnosis instructor, she developed Future Focus Hypnosis, a 3-stage advanced training process for professional hypnotists to connect each client with their wisest and most knowing self. She resides in colorful Colorado with her Army veteran husband and their cats. When she isn't coaching, writing, or gazing at the moon, she can be found chasing butterflies. Jen, I am so glad you are here. Thanks for being with me.
Thank you, Amanda, for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
And I want to say hi and thank you to Val for being here. If you are tuning in, I'd love it if you would drop us a comment in the chat. Let us know that you're here. We'll pull you up on screen and share those comments, say hello, because I want you to be as much a part of this conversation as Jen and I are. So this year, Jen, I think you know, I am doing this live stream series really showcasing cool people doing cool things. And when I thought, who do I need to talk with early on in this? You came to mind right away. So hi, Jen. Thanks for being here with us. So what I love, and Mary's here too. Hi, Mary. Thanks for being here. So what I loved first about you was just the gentle, sweet way you show up online. You have this way of just making me feel seen and acknowledged and accepted and loved for who I am, even from the very beginning of our exchange. And every time I've spoken with you or communicated with you in any way, I always feel uplifted and kinder and better just for our interactions.
Well, that's the nicest thing I think anybody has ever said. So I'm going to try not to cry. Thank you very much, Amanda. I appreciate you.
And the more I've gotten familiar with you and what you do, I just think it's so cool. So I would love it if we could start kind of at the beginning, and the beginning as far as you want to take us. Like, who are you and what do you do and how did you get into the thing that you do? Let's start there with however that takes you.
Okay. Yeah, because really we could go, how far back do you want to go? Like the cocoon? No. So I am the wife of an Army veteran, and my Army veteran, after he was fully retired due to injuries, needed more help than was immediately available. And we were having difficulties finding him the mindset assistance um, that resonated with him. And so it just kind of came about that I happened to live in Bellingham, Washington at the time. And I did some research, and there's an amazing hypnosis instructor there by the name of Erica Flint. And I immediately resonated with her. So I decided to become a hypnotist. And so I think I originally did it for him, as I kind of allude to, but it clarified every aspect of who I am that I hadn't realized yet. It had clarified for me, um, it provided me the ability to write all of the stories that I had been sort of living the wrong ending to, if you want to put it that way, right? Like, so what hypnosis did for me is it gave me the capacity to rewrite my stories by, and it wrote it right. I'm trying to use right, RIGHT, and WRIT. Anyway, it's just not working right now. So, um, hypnosis became a lifeline for me as a caregiver to my husband, both professionally and personally. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that story. So, can you explain for those of us who are new to the world of hypnosis, what is hypnosis? Because so many of
Sure.
us, I think when we think of it, we think of that magician with his pocket watch, getting people to do kooky
Yeah.
things.
Let's start there, right? Like everybody thinks about the stage shows first, and why would anybody go up on stage and make a fool out of themselves? Is how we look at it judgmentally as we sit safely in our seats, right? Um, there's a lot of freedom in being entertaining, and there's a little itty bitty teeny tiny part of most people who really secretly want to be entertaining. And so a stage show taps into that aspect of a person's truth, and it allows it to come out. Really, hypnosis is a form of tapping into our internal truth that we don't always think about or we don't always focus on, right? We have our unconscious mind that sort of rules every aspect of our physical body. But when our subconscious and our conscious minds get out of balance, then the unconscious starts filling in where it shouldn't be, right? So I'm kind of getting off track here. So yeah, it's mindfulness, right? It's staying present in the moment that you're in, wherever you are.
Yeah. So, when you do hypnosis, you are not doing stage show hypnosis.
No, I'm not. I like to pretend that I'm entertaining the intrinsic qualities within. So, yeah, it's all entertainment, but I'm entertaining the very best within you. I'm entertaining the most healed aspects of you to come out, right? Yeah.
So, what is hypnosis? What does it look like? So, I think we can, again,
Mm,
referencing those stages, we can imagine what that looks like. But
yeah.
what is it like? What does it look like to be hypnotized?
The belief of sleep is a misnomer, right? But it is what it looks like. It looks like someone goes to sleep. If you were to witness someone in hypnosis, it would be very boring to watch them. um, I mean, the hypnotist gets very engaged with the client, and it's very interesting to us, but it would not make for good TV, right? Um, what happens is hypnosis is such extreme focus on one specific aspect that all other peripheral gets fuzzed out. So the focus point becomes so clear on one thing that you lose focus on everything else. You can lose track of time, you can lose track of sensations, you can become overly noticed on one sensation. But it really is just relaxing to focus and focusing to relax in the very beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. Because I know. So, in full disclosure, I had a session with Jen last week that we'll chat about in a little bit, but I didn't know going into it what to expect. And so, hearing like you'll sit in a chair and can you like
Yeah.
walk through those specifics of what it
Absolutely,
looks like too?
absolutely. So, like, you want to be in a space where you can relax, right? Like, if I were to do hypnosis right now, I'd grab my pillow so that my head were, you know, supported. Uh, Being in hypnosis means that you are relaxed with your eyes closed and you're open to suggestions. That does not mean that the hypnotist has control and can, make you do whatever you want. As I joked with you, if I said something outlandish that went against your core values, who you are, and what we had agreed to do, you would immediately open your eyes and be like, wait, what? Um, e- every aspect of your mind has protective functions. And hypnosis is a buy-in modality. You have to choose to do it. That's why there's a lot of agreement in the beginning of a stage show, right? You get people nodding their heads, you get people saying yes a lot, you get people agreeing because that's the buy-in. If you'll remember, I said to you right before I asked you to close your eyes, do you want to do hypnosis with me now? If you don't want to do hypnosis, you're not going to, plain and simple. Anybody that says, I can't be hypnotized, well, no, it's you choose not to be. And technically, until you know what hypnosis is, you probably don't know that it happens every single day, at least twice, whether you mean to or not. Every single person goes in and out of hypnosis as they fall asleep and as they wake up. Naturally, your focus is in that state. That's why your first thoughts in the morning or your last thoughts right before you go to sleep are the most important thoughts you can have. You're hypnotizing yourself with them.
Now, that is fascinating to think about. That is so fascinating. Um, are there other times during the day when we go into hypnosis?
Very often, the area where we will recognize it the most is scrolling through social media. The repetition of watching the screen as you scroll becomes a focus point of also tiring the eyes and blurring out everything else. So technically, when you're on social media, you're hypnotized most of the time. When you lose track of time, it's an indicator that you're going into a light state of hypnosis. So when time flies or, oh, it drags on, these are signs that you're kind of losing sense of normal time. Now, I mean, the quantum physicists in me want to say there's no such thing as time, but that's not our conversation today. So, um, other times would be driving, working on creative projects, reading, watching TV, watching a movie, listening to music, dancing, hiking, running. Repetitive actions become hypnotic. Knitting, very hypnotic.
So, if it's something that we do all the time, why would somebody want to go to a hypnotist to do it on purpose?
To learn how to identify it so that you don't go into hypnosis when you don't want to. Where do we learn? Where are we hypnotized the most frequently? Would be in churches and in schools and in politics. These are areas where the skill set is standardized, whether they recognize it or not, whether they're even purposefully using it. It's a very hypnotic type of learning and environment, all three of those. Friendships can become very hypnotic. So recognizing when it's occurring and how to utilize it on purpose for purpose is the key to becoming a mindset magician. I use the term lovingly and kind of humorously, but when you can choose your response rather than trying to control your reaction to whatever's going on in life, you get a sense of calm, comfort, like I've never personally experienced before.
Yeah, no, that's so interesting. And so Trisha popped up and said, that is interesting. And I think she's talking about how you said we all go into hypnosis twice, at least twice a day as we sleep. She said I had no idea about first and last thoughts and the importance of them.
Yes, this is why we want to have our grateful thoughts right before going to bed and right when waking up. We want to have our positive affirmations in these times if those are things that we do. Um, but whatever you tell yourself as you're falling asleep will become true for yourself eventually. So if you're saying very stressed out thoughts to yourself as you're going to sleep, well, you're going to wake very stressed out.
Yeah. And none of us deserve that. None
Mm-mm.
of us.
None of us need it. None of us
Nope.
benefit from it. Real quick, a lot of people like to say positive thinking is lying to yourself. So is negative thinking. Nobody said negative was true. It's just easier to believe. It's easier to fall in line because, well, we've had teachers and people who were authority figures being very negative towards us at different times, as if it were going to be very helpful, as if it were going to be encouraging, as if it were going to motivate us somehow. It's not how the brain works. We should stop that. Let's not do it to ourselves.
Yeah, I know I am always quick to judge, quick to criticize, quick to think if I pick out my faults and am hard on myself, then I will get better. I will want to do
Mm.
differently. And I'm really learning that the kinder I am to myself, that's when I make the most progress and it feels the best.
Think about a baby learning to walk just for a second. As the baby learns to walk, it takes a step and then it just falls down on its bum and it looks at you to figure out how it responds. And if you're a good caregiver, you pick up that baby and what do? You spank it and you yell at it. You say, you need to walk faster. That's not what you do you? No. No, that's not what you do. You say, I love you. You did so well. I was joking in case anybody didn't know. I don't have my glasses on. Anyway, you don't spank a baby when they're learning to walk. You love and you encourage and you nurture and you celebrate every little walk. And so what happens in the brain as we learn to walk, we get excited about it. We get interested in the next step. And then we're running because it's joyful. If we could recognize that we are babies learning to walk every single time we start a new activity, if we could treat ourselves with that same level of nurturing encouragement, we would get to the finish line faster. We would recognize our strengths more. We would be, I don't know, happier, healthier humans.
And it would be a much more joyful journey for sure. I want to pull this comment up. This is Carrie saying, I love that. The negative thoughts are just as much of a lie. Why not choose the ones that help you?
Why not choose the ones that help you, right? Because you've either got, or, ah. Neither are true until you get to the end.
Yeah.
Which one gets you further, faster? Now, I am not for lying to ourselves. Please don't mishear me. But you are lying to yourself when you're saying, oh, I can't do it. Everybody else can do it, but I can't. Or I'll never do this, or I'll never do, right? Whatever negative tape. And this is something we talked about. So everybody is hypnotizing themselves already. Whatever the one sentence that you are constantly hearing in the back of your head that you don't want to admit to anybody else. I mean, I admitted mine to Amanda, but I'm not willing to do it here yet. But like there used to be one sentence in the back of my head that if I admitted to you, you probably would be shocked. And it's just, so okay, fine. I used to say, without even recognizing it, I hate my life. I hate my life. It was just on repeat. That is a hypnotic trance. That's a hypnotic suggestion. How could I be happy? How could I live a fulfilled, happy life if that's what I'm telling myself? When you can recognize what you're telling yourself and then choose, I love my healthy, happy life, right? Like, I'm real specific about it now. I love my healthy, happy life. And so I focus, my brain automatically focuses on health and happiness because I love my healthy, happy life. My brain wants healthy and happy. We are the programmers. We write the code. We are in more control than we give ourselves credit.
So, can we go back to something you said a minute ago, which tied into what you said at the beginning, which is um, nothing is true until we come to the end. I think that's what you said, something like that.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, you said you discovered with hypnosis, you could rewrite your stories. Can you talk a little bit about hypnosis and rewriting stories and what that
Yeah.
is
And
like?
I'll talk personally just real quick because it's the first thing coming to mind. I had an event occur when I was 3 years old that I had told myself a story about. I had run away from home because there was something horrible there and I needed to run away and find safety, right? Like, that was the story I had told myself, because why else would a 3-year-old walk 3 miles all by themselves? And yes, at 3, barefoot, I walked 3 miles. I crossed a highway. I got where I wanted to go because I thought I could. Turns out my favorite book, when I really, really remembered myself at 3 that day, I had been reading The Little Engine That Could all day long, and I was bored. Alpha Fox. I was just bored, right? Like, I wanted out. I wanted to go. And my mom, I don't know what she was doing. I think she was sleeping with my sister or something at this point. Like, it was nap time. She was like, my baby sister needed my mom. And so I was like, I'm going to Ez. I think I can. So I walked out the door. There was no trauma in this moment. There was no drama. I was just barefoot and free and happy and walking to my best friend's house, who just happened to live 3 miles away. So the story that I had told myself had led to a different perspective of my life. Then recognizing the truth of, I was just a really, really headstrong young child who thought, no, 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 you cannot tell me I can't. I started remembering conversations with my mom around this period of time where, no, you can't tell me I can't. I think I can. Right? Like, it changed everything, even about my relationship with my mom, to be quite honest. I had a sense of compassion for her after this that I didn't recognize before. She was a single mom, barely out of her teens, and she had a little girl who didn't matter what she was told no, she did it anyway.
So, something you said to me before our session last week was about the different parts of the brain. You
Yeah,
talked about the conscious, the subconscious, and the unconscious. Can you talk about that a little bit and how
sure.
hypnosis works with those?
Absolutely. So the conscious mind is the least capable and the most overworked. It's what we hold in the now. It's like what we believe we can focus on, right? Like, it's me trying to remember your question and remember the best answer and wonder if I should put my glasses on so I can read these comments, right? Like, it's what's going on right here, right now. Our subconscious is the recording of every lived experience from the moment of, well, I'll just say our birth. Some will say conception, some will say our soul level way before, but like, our subconscious is a recording device that is limitless. It is where all of our feelings and our emotions and it's our personality, but yet we completely discount it. It is our greatest resource, and we completely want to pretend like it's a pain in the tuchus. Then, because it's what fuels our emotions, it's what fuels our feelings, it's what creates that quick response. It's what has the emotional resonance of something from our past that pops up randomly because someone looks at you wrong and you're like, "Oh, but that makes me think about," right? So that's subconscious. It has some protective functions, like it's what controls. And we'll get into that later. Sorry, I'm off track. Your unconscious mind is your digestion, your respiration. It's allergies, actually. It's your immune system. So there are hypnotists that, I'm not one, but there are hypnotists that work with allergies because it's an unconscious level of bodily function.
Wow.
Yeah, right. And there's protective functions in between all of these layers, right? That's why it doesn't matter how deeply hypnotized you are, if something was done or said completely against what you want, you are going to say, no, no. um, that's my, I'm awake now. I reject that. um, There's a fourth function of the mind that a lot of people term the critical factor. I don't use that term. I only mention it because if you've heard of it, let's look at it differently for a second. There's a portion of your brain between the conscious level of mindset and your subconscious level of thinking, and it's a filtration system essentially. It's what determines what is created as a new memory or a new fact. It's what gets checked against what's happened in the past. It's the acceptor or rejector function essentially. But like any good filtration system, like a water filter or an air filter in your car or your house or wherever, when it does its job properly, it does eventually need cleaning. It just gets kind of gunked up, and things that you want to get through don't, and things that you don't want to get through do. Um, and that's where hypnosis comes in. It cleans the filtration and it creates the alignment between conscious and subconscious so you can really accomplish what you choose to accomplish. If you saw the post yesterday about willpower not existing, if you've ever set to your mind, I am going to make this change, and something in your mind body system said, nah, I'm not going to allow it. I'm not going to let you remember it. I'm going to get in the way. It's not willpower. It's this filtration system is gunked up and it needs to be cleaned. And that's all it is.
I think that is the best definition or the best explanation of all of this and
Thanks.
hypnosis and why we would do it. When you told me that the other day, I was like, oh, now I get it. Now I
Well,
get it.
and there are other ways to clean the filtration system. Meditation and journaling are great ways as well. There are similarities in meditation and hypnosis, but there are also vast, vast differences that they're just not the same. Um, Hypnosis and journaling, though, like I always ask my clients to carve out time after our session to process their insight with a journal. If people refuse, I ask them to do an adult coloring page because the processing of the subconscious mind post hypnosis is probably more important to the end user, the client, than even the time with me. So when you finished, did you journal by any chance?
I did. I did. And it's interesting. So I generally journal everything, but journaling after my hypnosis session had a different flavor to it than other types of journaling that I've done. Because my uh, most familiar flavor of journaling is the journaling I do every morning, where I really take stock of who I am today, how I'm feeling, what I need, and then really get clear on my intentions for the day. Like that is right now my favorite flavor, my go-to flavor
I
of
love it.
journaling.
Yeah.
But this was a different flavor of journaling. This was both a recounting of what the experience was like, but then also like a remembering at a soul level. So, this session that I did um, with you last week, Jen, um, for those of you who have never done a session, this was my very first intentional hypnosis session, and it was the coolest thing. Because again, I didn't know what to expect. And Jen took me on a um, kind of a journey through my timeline. We went back to meet my youngest self, to an old version of me, who in this version um, was kneeling on the kitchen chair in our kitchen in our old apartment with my uncle who was babysitting us, watching him make popcorn. And the delight of little me when she was like, I want to see in the popcorn popper, and my uncle took the top off and popcorn went all over the place was the most vivid. Like this is a memory I've always had, but to be able to go back and be inside of that memory kind of felt, I don't know, almost Harry Potterish, when he's looking in the pensive and remembering where he is and kind of visiting those old memories. It was just a really cool thing. And then to be able to talk to that version of myself and to just feel her energy and to be able to embrace her and carry her forward with me, and to remember that little girl that I saw, that I talked with, she's still part of me. She's still in me, was like very, very cool. And then to zoom the other way in my timeline and meet Wise Me, like again, was very, very cool. And I feel like this just kind of opened the door for me to imagine what's possible, and kind of got my toe in there just so I could just start wedging things open to really consider what's possible.
There's wisdom in our youngest and in our wisest connections. And though that's not like we did that for fun, right? Like it's not something I um like normally I don't do one-offs as they call them, right? Like normally I set an intention for change that we work towards for a
Yeah.
month, right? And in so doing, we can really recognize the ripple effects of how that change affects so much of our life. And by having one profound transformation in a single month's time, to see one aspect of ourselves completely with purpose, on purpose, become more intentional, it gives us that what if power. Like, wow, if I could do this, what's next? What if I could do this then, right? If I could connect with it in that way. If I could feel that joy in that moment. Go ahead. Were you going to say something?
No, you said joy and it just hit me like a wave. Like, because why would we not want to do that for ourselves? Why would we not want to give ourselves the opportunity to live our most joyful lives, to really play with what if, so we can make our lives better instead of the what ifs that we normally play, which is what if this bad thing happens, or what if, what if, what if?
The brain has a biological protective mechanism known as negativity bias. And what eventually happens is we will always focus on the most negative aspect because our brain thinks it's protecting us. It's not always useful, and learning to overcome that is really empowering. Um, I feel a need to bring up the fact that not all people's past, like their little ones and such, when they come to me, I have heard many people say, I can't go to a happy memory. I can't. And of course, that breaks my heart. And of course, they are blown away when they find their happy memory. And they realize that even the person who consciously cannot think at, let's say, 50 years old, that there is anything happy to remember before 6 or 12. Like, for those whose focus is, no, this was nothing but bad. For them to go back and to feel that lightness of even just 1 minute, it changes everything. It changes that internal dialogue just enough. So I just don't want to give the impression that hypnosis is only fun and good for people who had great, amazing lives and happy memories to go back to. But also, even if you think you've never had anything good, that might be one of the lies your brain is telling you right now. And it might be slightly different.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Jen. And I want to pull this up that Val said, with purpose, on purpose, with intention. That is a phrase I've heard you use a number of different times in a number of different circumstances, and I love it. I think the first time I heard you say it was in I don't know if you call it a meditation that you shared or an experience where I was listening to you. And I'm sure folks who are listening can totally agree with this. You have this voice that is so inviting. And the first time I heard you say, with purpose, on purpose, just really, I remember getting like goosebumps from it because I feel like that combination of words, like we do things purposefully, we do things not on purpose, but to do it with purpose, on purpose, just there's so much to that.
I will admit I did get that from my mentor, Erica. But I did resonate with it so much that I say it all the time. I believe hypnosis gives you an extreme sense of mindfulness. Like it really, like you can be so mindful that you were 3 again. You could be so mindful that, you're in a past life or a future life or something, right? Like the mindset of presence is not one we delve into enough in our society, I don't think. I mean, I know we're trying to a little bit more and more with meditation, and even journaling is a way, for sure. But just choosing things, right? Like on purpose, with purpose. I don't want to beat a dead horse here. Oops, sorry, that's a bad saying. I need to change that. Anyway. It's good. I'm glad it resonates with you.
Yeah. And I don't think we can oversay that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, people who are interested in pursuing hypnosis, like what are first some things we should consider when we want to explore hypnosis?
The 2 most popular things are quitting smoking and losing weight. But really, when you look at what quitting smoking and losing weight come down to, is it's a habit and belief system. I can't quit smoking. I can't lose weight. I mean, it's the habits that you do, right? So hypnosis is brilliant for changing habits and changing beliefs on purpose, with purpose. So anything that has to do with a habit or a belief system can be altered through hypnosis. when I really started looking at who I loved working with the most, I realized it was those who wanted to choose who they actualized daily as on purpose with purpose. Like, who are you growing up to become, right? It's a little, I guess, on the esoteric side, but my clients really do come to me either because they're exhausted, right? They aren't sleeping and they want to sleep better, or they're so stressed they want to stop whatever that one thought is that plays on repeat, or they want to be able to accomplish one goal. I've worked with people who were afraid of clipping into their bicycle, the types of bicycles that you clip into with your shoes. I mean, I worked with someone, she just wanted to feel safe in the clip-ins because she had fallen once. She was a avid biker and she felt like that just held her back. So something little like that, where you're like, well, why would you spend money on a hypnotist to make yourself a better bicycle rider? Because that's all she wanted. That was the one thing this overly accomplished woman had told herself she couldn't do. So really, it's the one thing that you say you can't do. Prove to yourself you can, and watch how you can do everything then. Now, I'm not suggesting you can fly because I'm not that hypnotist. I don't know how to get you to fly, but everything else.
No, I love that so much because what I am hearing, you did not use these words, but what is coming up for me is self-care. That this can really be a way to really care for ourselves and to just treat ourselves kinder, nicer. But that feels like an understatement for sure.
But it's also like the most, like, people don't know how to take care of themselves, right? And a lot of people, when they go for self-care, they end up with negative residue because they chose something that wasn't really self-care. It was self-destruction in the guise of fun. And so what you said that I love, there's somebody I follow on LinkedIn that talks about what's the benefit of the benefit of the benefit of the benefit of the benefit, right? Just keep getting into what's, and it comes down to our authentic self, right? Like, I don't want to be an imposter. I want to feel comfortable in my skin. I want to present myself as authentically as I possibly can and walk away from every single interaction feeling okay, right? Like, even if it was a terrible, horrible interaction, at least I wouldn't make it worse in how I showed up. And I think how Viktor Frankl, if you know Viktor Frankl's work, talks about the pause between stimulus and response. I believe hypnosis stretches that out to be full choice in all aspects. It's like the pause for the pause.
Yeah, so beautifully put. So, how do you work with clients? What do you
Yeah.
offer? You've told us a little bit about who you work with, but if someone is interested in working with you, what could they find?
Yeah.
What could they expect?
Well, the neat thing about hypnosis is because the computer is such a hypnotizing aspect of our life as it is, the reality is online hypnosis works faster, easier, and it's more effective than in person. Shh, don't tell the people that are paying for offices and
Wow.
overhead and all of that. So what I do is I do work from a tiny little second bedroom and a little apartment so that I can care for my husband and our family and all of that. Um, but I work with anybody who wants to work with me, who gets along with my computer well enough, right? Like, no, I'm being silly. I always say the complimentary consultation is as much to make sure our computers get along as well as we do. Um, but yeah, it's just we create an intention and we go to work on it. And it is work, right? Like those people that think hypnosis is magic, miss out on the magic because they don't do the work, right? Like if I could just do this and everything would be great, I would charge a lot more.
Well, and I think
Right?
if you could, we would all miss out on the opportunity to learn and grow because it's the work that's that's where the magic really happens. And it's so interesting to talk to people who are not doing the work about the work because they're like, I don't get it. Well, what is the work? Right. And to try to articulate what that is, like it's magic. Like you just have to do it to feel it, I feel like.
I'm working with a woman right now who, in June, lost her father. Her father was very important to her. And with the holidays coming up, she didn't know how she was going to get through the holidays, to be quite honest, with it being this fresh in the grief process. And as we were coming to the end of our month, she really said to me, I was scared of the work. I knew this was going to be work. I knew that delving into this aspect of what we were doing was going to be difficult, but I had no idea it would feel this good afterwards. I mean, she was just like, I had no idea I would feel this capable afterwards. Like she's like, I had no idea I had this much power in me after, right? Like she's all of a sudden the compounding effects of change are that what you think you can do in 1 month's time, by the time you look back, you're like, oh, if I had only known I could get this far, right? There's this belief that things are harder than they are. They take, 10,000 repetitions. Unless if you're not engaging the subconscious. Engage the subconscious, and it doesn't take 10,000 repetitions, right?
And so if you could sum all of this up with one key takeaway for folks who are listening, what is the key takeaway about hypnosis?
My belief system is it gives you the power to recognize that your future is more important than your past.
Oh. And if people want to learn more about you and working with you, how do we find you?
LinkedIn is my favorite social media platform. I do have a Facebook business page, but really, LinkedIn or my website. Hey, there's something I should mention. Hypnosishaven.com is my website, and that's where I do my private coaching. If you want to become a hypnotist and connect people with their future selves as well, or add that to your coaching, I am beginning instructing certified hypnotists starting this year.
Very
So,
cool. Okay, so this makes me think of another question that I have to ask. Like, can you use hypnosis on yourself, or do you need to go to another hypnotist?
all hypnosis is self-hypnosis, 100%. So what you did on Friday was hypnotizing yourself. But like going to the gym and working with a trainer at first, you had someone walking you through the equipment. So, yes, I do self-hypnosis and I do everything for myself. However, I do still choose to see a hypnotist when I have something overwhelming. So, the answer to your question is yes, and yes, and yes.
That is a great question, or a great answer to my question, which I did not expect to ask you. It just popped up,
Oh, that's
but it
okay.
reminds me so much of the work that I do in my journal and the thinking I do and the answers that I find. I've always said it's a great companion to therapy or coaching. It can stretch the time between sessions. There's so much I can do on my own, but sometimes I just need to go talk to somebody who's particularly skilled in a certain area. So your explanation made so much sense.
There are going to be areas of blindness. We just need somebody else to ask us a question in a certain way that gets our brain to go, "Oh, wait, what?" I That's what I'm doing? Yeah.
I love that. So Jen, thank you so
Mm,
much for
thank
coming
you.
and sharing your expertise. Thank you for informing us more about hypnosis and explaining what it is, because I feel like there's a whole lot of people who now are much more informed about hypnosis
I hope
is.
so.
And I think it's so incredible. So remind us one more time where we can find you: LinkedIn and your website, which is
Hypnosishaven.com. I'm Jen at hypnosishaven.com if you feel like emailing me. I'm not familiar with this setup, or I would is there a place for me to put that in chat?
I will pop it in there.
Okay,
Hypnosishaven.com.
thank you.
Jen.
Um, if anybody wants to find me there, I do offer complimentary consultations to anybody who wants to consider transformation. But I also offer 15-minute coffee chats if you just want to get online and ask me a question that didn't get answered here.
Beautifully put. And again, as I said in the beginning, Jen, you are one of the kindest, most
Mm.
gentle, thoughtful people. And I can't imagine that anybody would not enjoy just 15 minutes of being in your presence
You're so
and feeling your
sweet.
energy. So thank you, thank you, thank you, my friends, for tuning in. Thank you for joining
Thank
us.
you.
Join us again next week. We have somebody else coming on who does something else that's very cool and different, but also related. I can't wait to see you next week. So we will see you next time, everybody. Thank you so much.